Yo, what's going on everybody? Hope everybody is doing well. Today we're going to be talking about Oberon and my Oberon Nature's Darkness build. This build consists of me taking the Warframe Oberon and pairing him with the Helminth ability Gloom. I absolutely love this Helminth ability. It's a goated Helminth ability for a lot of Warframes. Now, despite how goofy it is to give Oberon a second heal, Gloom is still a great ability, and it actually is surprisingly clutch on a Warframe like Oberon. Let's go ahead and get right into it. One thing I want to mention off the rip is that my Oberon actually has 5 Archon shards. I have 3 red Archon shards. 2 of them give me ability duration and 1 of them gives me ability strength, and then I got a Tau Forged yellow Archon shard that gives me extra effectiveness on energy orbs, and then a purple Archon shard that is basically equilibrium, giving me health per energy orb and energy per health orb. I'm also going to be pairing Oberon with the Phenmor Incarnon. Oberon is definitely going to be needing some good weapons, and the Phenmor is a solid primary. On Evolution 2 I got Swift Deliverance for that extra projectile speed. On Evolution 3 I got Retribution's Vessel so I can get that plus 50% extra magazine capacity. On Evolution 4 I got Elemental Excess. On a weapon like this, having more status chance and having less crit chance is the way to go, and the reason for that of course is because of the Evolution 5 perk, Devouring Attrition. This perk gives the Phenmor a 50% chance to do plus 2000% damage on non-critical hits in its regular and Incarnon form. Really goated perk for a really good weapon. And here is the mod setup for those of you who are curious. I wanted to try out a primary frostbite build with the Phenmor, and it honestly didn't do that bad at all. For my secondary I got the Grimoire, and I mainly have this weapon for an energy recovery build. I got 2 tome mods on this weapon, one of them being Khra Canticle, pairing that with the Xata Invocation tome mod. Thanks to these 2 mods, we're going to be getting energy back pretty consistently with this weapon. For my melee weapon, I got my iconic Yoshihito Exodia Contagion Zaw. Exodia Contagion is of course the absolute GOAT arcane for Zaws. I'm also rocking the Zanuric Operator Skull on this build just so I can get that energy back at a much more consistent rate. Having Wellspring and Hardened Wellspring at your side is definitely a nice way to get energy back consistently. I'm also bringing the GOAT companion himself, Rufus. Duplex Bond is an absolute hilarious mod, allowing Rufus to actually split into shadow clones, and every time these shadow clones get a kill, their kills have a 50% chance of dropping energy orbs. It's pretty nice. And Rufus himself can actually dig up energy orbs thanks to the mod Dig, which means I get 2 energy orbs guaranteed and a 70% chance to get a 3rd one. With all that out the way, let's go ahead and go over Oberon himself. Oberon's passive actually allows companions to receive plus 25% health, shield, and armor, which does stack with the link mods for the companion, and on top of that, his passive also allows for companions to revive instantly. It is only 1 instant revive per mission, but that's still a goated feature for a passive, especially because I don't want my boy Rufus to die. Next up, we got his first ability, which I ended up replacing for the Helminth ability Gloom, and again, like I said earlier, it's an absolute goated ability, and I really do love this Helminth, man. It's so good. This ability is a darkness aura that will slow enemies down within its range, and while it's active, any damage dealt will result in lifesteal, and that's just from any damage dealt, period. You don't even have to have the enemies within the aura. As long as the ability is active and you do damage, you get lifesteal back. It's pretty nice, and having an ability like this on Oberon of all Warframes is really goofy because it just straight up gives him a second heal on top of his 3rd ability, and you wouldn't think he would need one, but man, is it actually kind of efficient, especially in Steel Path and high level missions where you're surrounded by a bunch of enemies. Having an ability that slows enemies and provides you a heal on a healing Warframe is pretty goofy, but it works and it's honestly pretty cool. Next up, we got his second ability, which is called Hollowed Ground. This ability turns the ground in front of Oberon into a fiery terrain, and enemies within this terrain take radiation damage, and they are applied 100% radiation status. And while Oberon and his allies are standing in this area, all negative status effects are removed instantly, and you and your allies are immune to those same status effects as long as you are all on the terrain. This ability is hella necessary for staying alive. Making yourself immune to status effects and just straight up removing them makes this a really clutch ability to have in those high level missions. And on top of that, you could just kill enemies easier with this ability. Have Gloom activated, they can't really move and they're just constantly taking that hollowed ground damage. Next up, we got his 3rd ability, which is called Renewal. This is Oberon's iconic healing ability that has an initial heal, and it also heals you every second once it's active. Oberon and healed allies have all status effects removed when this ability is active, and if you activate this ability while standing on hollowed ground, the 2 can actually give you a buff called Iron Renewal, but the Iron Renewal buff will straight up grant you bonus armor while you're on hollowed ground. With a build like this, you're not really supposed to have this ability active at all times unless you have a bunch of energy and you're taking a lot of damage, and I actually find myself using this ability whenever I'm about to die, and that's because I have the augment mod for this ability, Phoenix Renewal. This augment mod makes it so taking fatal damage while Renewal is active will actually heal you to 50% health instead of letting you die. This augment mod will trigger every 90 seconds, but thanks to this augment mod, you can find yourself staying alive in a lot of clutch situations if somehow those 2 heals still aren't enough. Don't get it wrong, it is a 90-second cooldown, but with the mod setup that we have, we get shields back really fast, so if we do find ourselves ourselves in a situation where this augment mod is activated, our shields will start instantly regenerating, and during a scenario like that, I could focus on recovering energy. It's a pretty goofy augment mod, and it may or may not be necessary on a build like this that has 2 heals, but you never know, and for those tricky situations, it definitely can be clutch. And finally, we got his 4th ability, which is called Reckoning. With this ability, Oberon lifts enemies into the air and then slams them down, which deals impact and radiation damage with a guaranteed knockdown, and enemies hit by this ability are guaranteed applied with a radiation status. And this ability can do additional damage to enemies affected by radiation. If the enemies you slam to the ground actually survive from this ability, those enemies will emit a light that actually blinds the surrounding enemies next to them. And whenever enemies die from this ability, they have a 50% chance to drop a health orb, which makes having that purple Archon shard for equilibrium really goated. But to make this ability even better, when you actually pair this ability with hollowed ground and you use this ability on enemies that are within the hollowed ground terrain, you can strip their armor. And in order to remove 100% of your enemy's armor, you need at least 200% ability strength, and with a build like this, you best believe that's what we got. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and go over the mod setup that we got on Oberon. For the aura mod, I got Brief Frostbite, an absolute goated aura mod for a build like this, because we are straight up converting energy into shields every time we use an ability. In the Excellence mod slot, I got Power Drift, so I can get a little bit of extra ability strength, and so I can have a little bit of knockdown resistance. I got Blind Rage for extra ability strength, Prime Continuity for extra ability duration, Vigilante Vigor for extra shield recharge, and to decrease my shield recharge delay, and then I got Fast Deflection for the same exact thing. Absolutely 2 goated mods for this build. Fleeting Expertise so I can get extra ability efficiency. Of course, I got the Phoenix Renewal Augment mod just so we can get that pocket revive if we need it. I got Primed Flow for extra energy, and Umbral Intensify for extra ability strength. And then for the Arcanes, I got Mole Augmented so I can get extra ability strength per kill. That stacks all the way up to 250 times. And then I got Arcane Energized so I can have a chance of getting extra energy every time I pick up an energy orb. Not only is this build kind of different from my average Oberon builds, but at first I just kind of threw this ability on as a joke, and it actually ended up being pretty clutch, especially with my playstyle. I found that Gloom was actually quite clutch on a build like this. When enemies are constantly taking damage from hollowed ground and they're being slowed by Gloom, you can just use Reckoning to strip any enemy's armor, and then you can easily kill them with your weapons. And of course, whenever you kill Eximus enemies, they drop health and energy orbs, right? So keeping them in place with Gloom, making sure they're actually on the hollowed ground, and then following that up with the Reckoning for the armor strip, it's just great crowd control and can definitely keep you alive in a lot of high intense situations. And yeah guys, that's pretty much gonna be it for this video. Let me know what you guys think of Oberon and my Oberon Nature's Darkness build down below. Oberon's a really cool frame, and I definitely got a few more build ideas that I'm looking to try out with the man himself. Before this video ends, real quick, just wanted to say thank you guys so much for all the support on the channel. I see you guys have been going absolutely crazy with all the support, and I really do appreciate it. And yeah guys, that's gonna be it from me. Keep your head up, stay positive, and with that being said, thanks for watching.